All right, I think we're live now, so welcome to the Refuse Fascism webinar, the urgent need to drive Trump-Pence out now, what we must do together in the streets. I'm Sam Goldman. I'm an organizer with Refuse Fascism, and I recently joined the editorial board of refusefascism.org. Refuse Fascism, for those of you who don't know, is a movement of people coming from diverse perspectives, united in our recognition that the Trump-Pence regime poses catastrophic danger to all of humanity and the planet itself, and that it is our responsibility to drive them from power through nonviolent protests that grow until our demand is met. This nightmare must end. The Trump-Pence regime must go now. So welcome to everyone that's joining. We welcome individuals and organizations from many different points of view who share our determination to refuse to accept a fascist America, to join or partner with us in this great cause. Everyone who's joining us via Zoom, welcome. Be sure to share the link out further. To those of you who are on Facebook, we hope that you'll be hosting some watch parties and groups that you're on, or hosting a watch party from your page. If you're on Twitter, please retweet this and DM your friends. This is also going on live on YouTube, so welcome YouTube viewers. I want to take this moment to encourage everyone to be sure to follow Refuse Fascism at Refuse Fascism on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we're all subscribed to our YouTube channel. We also have a podcast, Inside Without Now, that we hope that you will subscribe to. So welcome to all those who have been in the streets with us fighting for justice, those we have met, and those we have yet to meet. Welcome to all those creatives and others who have been supporting with their art and boosting on social media, and all those who have been contributing financially. I want to put a special shout out today. We reached our 1,500 matching challenge, so shout out to all those donors. We salute everyone who is in the streets, with a special salute to those who were out in the streets on Juneteenth weekend in Tulsa at the gates of Trump's KKK campaign rally. Tonight's webinar is for all of us who want justice, who care about the future of the planet, about our immigrant siblings, who care about the attacks on Black people, about what is to become of the right to dissent, who don't want to see the lives of trans people erased, who fear for all of humanity as this lunatic has an itching finger on the nuclear button. For every struggle for justice, now is the moment to join together in demanding Trump-Pence out now and not stopping until that demand is won. Everyone joining, tuning in tonight, no matter what platform, has a tremendous role to play right now in shaping the future by going all in, putting their time, talent, skills, resources, energy, connections into this Out Now movement. All with a heart for humanity need to confront that this is indeed a fascist regime. When we say fascist, we're talking about a qualitative change in how society is run. That once it consolidates power, essentially eliminates democratic rights. A regime that endangers any positive future and becomes more dangerous by the day. And together in the streets is how we end this nightmare. After tonight's webinar is over, we ask you to make a generous donation to grow and strengthen this movement. Tonight, you'll hear presentations from Coco Das and Sarah Rourke, other members of the refusefascism.org editorial board, to learn about the strength and danger in the moment and how leaders like Trump are really driven from power. Then I'll be laying out some on how together we can get organized Everyone joining can become an organizer and what you can do at various levels. You'll hear from Corey Hill on the broad unity needed to oust this regime now. And there will be time at the end for questions and answers. And at that point, we'll be joined by Carl Dix, a new member of the Refuse Fascism editorial board. So this is a moment of great stakes, and there's no better place to be than joining in this conversation. With this regime escalating its program and repression on those who dare to rise up, you got the National Guard out in DC protecting these monuments to slavery, to genocide, to white supremacy, while they're terrorizing protesters. And Trump is threatening 10 years of prison to anyone who defaces these monuments, revving up vigilantes, his rabid fascist base at his rallies, in the context of a deadly pandemic that rages on. And this regime closes testing sites, uses it as a pretext to further attack immigrants, and carries out mass death sentences of the prison and jail populations. It is also a moment of great opportunity as the people continue to feel their power in the streets, if we seize the moment to act in the interests of all of humanity and drive this regime from power before it becomes too late. So we got a lot to get into. There's no better place to be. We're so glad that you're with us. Let's go, let's get organized. I want to introduce Coco Das, a member of the refusefascism.org editorial board, and pass it off to her.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Sam. And thank you, everybody, for being here. It's really true what Sam said. There's no better place that you can be right now. We're in a tremendous moment, and I'm going to be getting into that. I want to start with an announcement of a tremendous victory that we just found out today. In 2017, members of Refuse Fascism and the Revolution Club blocked the 101 freeway in Los Angeles to sound the alarm that a fascist regime was in the White House. And they had a big banner that said, "Trump, Pence must go." And they were, modeling, showing the kind of courageous action that was necessary to stop this catastrophe for humanity. And they were also calling others out into the streets to demand the removal of this regime, a fascist regime. And we were calling for that removal at a time when we had not yet learned that there was concentration camps, but all the signs were there that this was a fascist regime that was going to actually institute a whole program based on white supremacy, xenophobia, and misogyny. And in 2017, there was a chance to stop it. We called people into the streets, and for this courageous action, the LA City Attorney's Office brought vengeful prosecutions and dragged these defendants into court for 3 years. And even after the LA City Attorney's Office kept losing, there were 2 trials that ended in a hung jury, 1 acquittal. They refused to drop the charges until today, when we got the news that all charges against the Freeway 9 have finally been dismissed. This is a huge victory for the people, for the right to dissent, and for anyone who wants to stand up for humanity. And I wanted to start here, and I think in the chat box, hopefully somebody will be posting a way for you to find out more and read the history of this case, because there are a lot of lessons in it. I'm not going to go into all that here, but I do think that it's important for people to see a few points out of this and to learn a little bit from this. One, our mission to drive out this fascist Trump-Pence regime through sustained nonviolent protests that grows to millions in the streets, that demands removal of the regime, that creates a political crisis, that then forces the ruling powers to make a decision and force out this this regime or force out Trump and then Pence, however it happens. This has been our mission from the beginning. And it is very important that what we said, what our analysis that we put forward and the strategy that we put forward has been borne out to be the right strategy. And what we have said is the problem has been borne out to be true. And these defendants refused to back down because they knew that what they were doing was necessary. So that's the first lesson. And it's a lesson for all of us in this movement and everyone who's coming in today. I hope there are a lot of new people, and I'm really glad that you're here. But this is a really important thing to keep in mind as we continue our presentation here, that what we are putting forward is based on a very careful analysis of what is actually happening, of reality. And we have not backed down from our mission. The defendants here held firm and insisted in court that they were right in taking these actions, and juries sided with them. And it has come to a situation where now the state has been forced to, at least for now, lay off of their repression of this movement. That's to say that what we have been putting forward was always necessary and it was always possible. But never has it been more within our reach than now, because in 2017, there was a missing ingredient that we have now. And that ingredient is that there are now masses in the streets who are aroused, who keep coming back into the streets, who are not backing down, just like these defendants, and who are increasingly seeing that Trump should go. And this is a very, very crucial beginning of something that can be very quickly transformed into something that could lead to even greater victories for the people. This is a moment to seize. For 3 years, our analysis of what we were facing that has been borne out to be true, but now we have a situation where over the last 3 weeks, people are coming into the streets over and over again. That tells us even more now of what's possible. Things that we thought were not possible, things that people thought were not possible back in February or the beginning of March. Now, you look around and those things are possible. So what we have to do right now is to go out and tell people what they don't spontaneously know. And that is that this regime is a fascist regime, that they are not going to back down from what they want for the future of humanity or for the future of this country, which is to consolidate a fascist program that is Christian, theocratic, based on Mike Pence's Bible taken literally, that is instituting a virulent white supremacy that is rooted in the Confederacy, that is a nightmare for LGBT people and for women who are poised to lose their right to abortion. These are all things that they actually see as their last chance with Trump and Pence to do this, to hammer in this program that has been decades in the making. And this is a moment that we have to seize, because they are actually also going to seize the moment. So I'm going to go into this a little bit more here. What is this moment we are in that we keep talking about? We have this situation that in the last 3 weeks, there's tremendous hope from people flooding the streets, standing up for a very different set of values than the hate and bigotry that people have normalized over the last 3 years of this regime. then that hate and bigotry has actually not only been normalized, but fortified under the leadership of Trump and Pence. But now there's a situation where even though these protests did not start out as a repudiation of the Trump-Pence program, that has become a part of this movement for justice. There is tremendous hatred for what this regime represents that you can see right now in the streets. Now, facing this crisis on the other side is this regime that has actually been able to roll over most opposition since its inauguration. It had a few challenges with the Muslim ban, but was able to roll over it and be victorious. There is a Muslim ban now that affects millions of lives. It had a little bit of opposition over family separation. It rolled over that. There are now actually under COVID, they're separating families again and actually holding children hostage. Having parents give up their parental rights in order to save their children. They had some, down the line of with Kavanaugh, there were protests, but they have been able to roll over most opposition. But this crisis that they're facing with these sustained protests that have not let up, that is not one that they could roll over easily. But they have to become victorious over it. They have a necessity to actually get through this crisis if they are to consolidate their power. And they have mainly done this through brute force and calling out the violence of the federal forces, whether it's at Lafayette Park, National Guard, the police, and the violence of their fascist base, their street thugs, what Trump called the bikers for Trump, but it's not just bikers, it's the armed militias, it's the Proud Boys, all these, the people who shot protesters who were trying to take down a statue in Arizona. There have been, very, very minuscule concessions. Mainly how they see getting through this moment is by bringing down the hammer and calling out even more violence and terror against the people. And this is why Trump had to restart his rallies, and why it is not an accident that he restarted his rallies in Tulsa, the site of one of the biggest mass killings of Black people, white supremacist mass killings of Black people on Juneteenth weekend. He backed down by one day, but if any of you saw that speech, what you see is somebody who is even more on a rampage, who is doubling down on this racism and this whole fascist program, and attacking any opposition. The Democrats, and what he called Antifa, the radical left, all of that needs to be eliminated in his mind and in the mind of the regime. So that rally and this rally in Arizona is a continual escalation on the side of these fascists. And they are announcing, they are telling you they have no plans to back down. And they will come at us even more viciously and with even more determination. And what they're telling you is that they will not stop until they prevail. This is throwing down a heavy gauntlet to the people that we have to throw back, and we have to lead people in throwing that gauntlet back. And we must not stop, and we have to make it clear that we will not stop until we prevail in the name of humanity. Right now, you see that Trump is highlighting crimes of Black people against white people. This is straight out of Hitler's playbook. And his speeches in Tulsa and Arizona are not only replays of his previous attacks. They're far more cutthroat, they're far more desperate, they're far more threatening, and they're far more unhinged. And it's very clear what they are most afraid of is people in the streets. At the same time, there are other players in the regime who are playing a different role, and that role is to subvert all the norms and subvert all the normal channels and the rule of law, the separation of church and state, the separation of powers, which they've been, doing for 3 years, but they've just confirmed the 200th federal judge with a lifetime appointment. This is all part of how the regime plans to consolidate their power and actually institute their program for a generation to come. So relying on, and we also cannot forget that Trump was impeached for hijacking and, for sabotaging this election. They have made it clear, and Sarah will talk more about this, that they don't respect elections, and that the chance of a free and fair election and of Trump even stepping down if he loses is it's a very strong possibility that he won't, or that there may not even be elections because of COVID. So relying on the norms and the regular channels of the system is not going to solve this problem. And it is a profound and urgent problem. Trump, who is a very actually effective fascist leader. There's a whole fascist regime, and there's a whole movement of fanatical followers that are determined to completely change the way society and government have been run. And in this moment, we have to pose this question to everyone who does not want a future of fascist revenge and terror, who does not want women to lose their right to control their own bodies, who does not want white supremacist mob rule. We have to pose this question: will you accept a fascist America? Will you stand aside hoping that politics as usual will remove a regime that is subverting elections and using organized violence from the military and the police in combination with terroristic street violence to crush dissent? Are you going to wait this out even further? See how many more lives are going to be on the line? Or are you going to bring our strength and contribute to our strength, which is being in the streets in huge numbers and staying in the streets until this demand, the Trump-Pence regime must go now, is met? Because the fact is that we can actually drive out this regime and cripple this fascist movement in the same way that tyrannical regimes all over the world are driven out. The people flood the streets day in, day out. The momentum grows, the number grows, and the demand is that the regime must go. And when people don't back down from that regime, that demand, the splits at the top intensify, the rulers try to find a resolution to it, and the leader and the regime is forced out. It has happened in Puerto Rico, it's happened in South Korea, it's happened in Egypt, it's happened in Tunisia. There are a whole list of countries where this has happened, and it is possible here. You are here to become part of this organizing force that is going to take this movement to the next level and take this struggle to the level where it needs to be, going all the way to driving out a white supremacist, brutally terroristic regime that is the most dangerous regime in the world right now, frankly, and a huge danger to the future of humanity and the planet. You are here to become part of that organizing force that will bring those millions forward to fulfill this mission, this necessary, urgent mission. And if we succeed, I want you to imagine what that will make possible for every struggle for justice. Every struggle for justice will be advanced. But if we should fail to see this through, not only will every struggle for justice be set back, these fascist forces will go out for revenge, and they will aim to destroy the ability of the people to stand up again. And we have to challenge everybody. What kind of future do you want? Are you willing to sacrifice the future of your children, of the children of the world, to some hope that the normal channels will resolve this? The hour is getting late, but it is still not too late if we go out with everything we have to make this mass mobilization a reality. And we must not stop until this is won. So I'm going to end my presentation there. I will have more to say later. I'm gonna pass it back to Sam. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, I'm flattered, but I'm not Sam, but.
I want to bring on Sarah Rourke next from the RefuseFascism.org editorial board. I think that, yeah, there we go. And she's going to get into a little bit more of why we need to act in the streets and not rely on the elections. I want to welcome everyone who's joining us. If a friend shared this with you, thank them. You have a good friend. This is the Refuse Fascism webinar on the urgent need to drive Trump Pence out now, what we must do together in the streets. So we're going to be getting organized together tonight. And so I'm going to bring Sarah on to deepen our understanding a little bit more, and then we're going to go from there.
Hi, folks. Yeah, like Sam said, I'm going to attempt to deepen the question. And before I begin, let me go ahead and say one thing more about who I actually am, because it matters. This is a movement that needs the broadest possible coalition around this understanding that we are facing a fascist regime, that this is an all hands on deck moment, and that we have to come together in a way that the regime cannot ignore. I am a mainstreamish Democrat. I was a Hillary volunteer in 2016. I remain more or less a mainstreamish Democrat. So when I say to you that, you know, we need to be coming together with all people of goodwill, you know, radicals, non-radicals, progressives, even principled conservatives who want to come on board, I welcome them to this movement. We really should understand. And if you think back to any of the World War II books you've ever read, the movies you've seen, we just now understand that the world needed to come together against Hitler, that it made sense for Churchill and Stalin and Roosevelt to form an alliance together to beat Hitler. We understand that now instinctively. We should not have trouble understanding this in reference to the Trump regime just because they have not fully consolidated their fascist rule yet. By now we have 3 years of evidence that that is what they are trying to do and what they're trying to consolidate. So I actually would like to flip some of the questions that I normally get on their head, 2 of them. And the first one I want to flip around on you guys is ask yourself, why is it okay to wait? You know, people challenge me and say, why do we have to get out in the streets now? Why don't we wait for the election? I want to come at you the other way. Why do you think it's okay to wait till November? On what do you base that? When we are watching, as Coco said, lots of moves from this regime to quash dissent, to dismantle the superstructure of our democracy out from under us so that nobody can retake power. And history teaches us that this is how fascism works. It is an ailment of failing democracies, and fascists use the democratic structure to get in a position of power and then use that power, as the Trump regime does, to hollow out civil government, hollow out the electoral process, and make it so that nobody can take power back through the normal process. That's why they're putting party hacks in charge of the census. That's why we saw what we saw in Georgia with the voter suppression, Kentucky, Georgia in 2018. We have seen them do this numerous times. So why do you think they're not going to do it again? Why do you think they would not pull out all the stops this time when it's on the line and their butts are going to jail if they don't stay in power? Seriously, do you think that they have moral qualms that they're going to, back off? I'm very seriously asking you to think about this. And if you actually think you have a reason why we should wait till November, I would like to hear it. Please give it to us in chat or anything else. This is the dialogue that we're trying to have. The other flip I'd like to do is, why not hit the streets? People, ask me, especially, fellow Democrats, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do this velvet revolution thing like South Korea, like Egypt, like Tunisia, like Algeria, Puerto Rico? Why do you want to do this? And I'm saying, why not? Why do you not support this? Especially now in this moment when we are seeing so many people all across the spectrum supporting the righteous demand of the Black Lives Matter protesters who have been out in the streets, and their protests have moved the needle on a local and state level already visibly. And this has been very powerful. Few people have denied its power. Well, why not? Why can't we do that to get fascists out of power? Especially when those fascists are threatening everyone. We can't fix police while fascists are in power. We can't fix women's rights. We can't protect the right to choose while fascists are in power. We can't rebuild our broken electoral system, do something about the electoral college problem. We can't get rid of gerrymandering. We can't restore trans rights and LGBT rights that are being stripped away. We can't do any of this while fascists are in power. Fascists do not fix things, and they especially don't fix those things. This is what history teaches us. So and then the last thing I would like to do is put in my plea for what Sam and Coco have already said is of critical importance, which is we do need to spread the understanding that this is fascism. Because, it's like the old proverb of the 7 guys in a dark room who each grab a part of an elephant. One grabs the tail and he thinks he's got a worm. One grabs an ear and he thinks he's got a bat. And if they would put together their perspectives, their diverse perspectives, they'd realize that they have an elephant. We're coming from very diverse perspectives, which is part of why we have trouble diagnosing the larger problem with the Trump regime. And asking me, does it matter that this is fascism, to me is like asking, does it matter if those guys figure out they've got an elephant? Of course it matters. If you figure out you've got an elephant, that doesn't tell you everything. All elephants are different. There's different species of elephants. They'll do different things under different circumstances. But once you know that it's an elephant, you know things about it. You're more able to predict its moves. You're more able to do something about it if you need to, right? The increased understanding is crucial. Being able to name the problem and learn from history about it, which there's plenty of history and study on this, is crucial. So we really do have to struggle for this understanding. Not everybody in the street necessarily needs to be able to quote this chapter and verse, I think. But this is a unique threat to our generation, to, as far as I know, history in this country, really. This kind of modern fascist assault on our democracy. This is unique, and we need to recognize that, and we need to act in a manner that is commensurate. If we don't, we're going to be, assuming we survive it all, in the same position as the Germans after World War II, who nobody's going to care that they were good people. Nobody's going to care that they claimed they didn't see it coming. None of that is going to matter. What people are going to look at is the cost. I think we need to be out on the streets right now if we want to prevent that scale of a tragedy. So that's what I have for you on that point. Back over to you, Sam.
Thanks for that, Sarah. I wanted to read just a couple quick comments off of what Sarah brought up. If we don't stop fascism, fascism will stop us all. And there was also a lot of indeed and right on. So I think that what Sarah was laying out about our need to act, as opposed to relying on elections that Trump doesn't respect, and that may not even happen, let alone be enough to combat a whole fascist movement dead set on total domination, is right on time. It's right on time. What's decisive is what we do together in the streets. And I wanted to share something that was written short by a supporter. And I want to call on everyone to consider what she has to say. She donated generously, and I'm going to be calling on all of you to do the same. So I want to read her statement, and then I'll let you know how you can join in. And then we're going to move on to the organizing section of this webinar. So I took the wrong piece of paper out. Sorry about that. This is a statement from someone who matched $1,000 that were donated. And we are extremely grateful. And this is what she wrote. RF has been a powerful force in the mix. We must drive these dangerous shitholes out of office. This moment can go either way. The masses of people can wake up and come to see the truth about fascism in America and the danger this poses to the world and the role they must play to drive it out. Or my fear, they get co-opted by meaningless crumbs thrown at them. If this confrontation gets resolved like that, the targeted groups will be even more prey to the brutality. Tens of thousands more will die of COVID, and humanity itself lies open to destruction. What a moment. And that was from R in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And so I want to call on all of you. We're going to pull up a slide right now on how people can give. And I want you to consider what it would mean to have thousands, tens of thousands in the streets right now, demanding Trump Pence out now, to have week after week protests spreading across the country in sustained mass nonviolent protests, where you have youth, and others, going from fuck Trump to Trump Pence out now to talking about at night what world they want to live in. This is possible. We have a lot of people who are ready to act, but we need to get materials connected with them, and we need to be able to send people at critical junctures to hotspots. We need to be able to get organizing kits and stickers and posters out in people's hands. We need to be able to act now in a very short period of time to get this message out in a big way on social media and elsewhere, so that this demand is seen, heard, and felt across this country. And to make that happen, we need you. You have a role to play. So donate to Refuse Fascism. You can Venmo Refuse-Fascism, Cash App Refuse Fascism. You can donate on PayPal. You can go to our website. All of these are options. There is no donation too big or too small. All of it matters. Don't think your $5, your $3 doesn't make a difference. It does. It helps with shipping. It helps with getting some stickers out to students. So whatever you can give, know that it makes a difference, and know that your giving is part of projecting this demand at a time where it's needed the most and where it has the most potential to unlock these thousands that need to be in the streets raising this demand. So I want to encourage you to donate and to ask your friends and family to join you in doing that. So I now want to show you a video to give you a little bit of a sense of what Refuse Fascism in the streets looks like.
But in 15 days, more changes happened than in 15 years because of you being out on the streets. So I ask you, is now the time to go home? No! Is now the time to stop?
these past few weeks. We've seen something of unprecedented beauty. All of you getting out into the streets and saying, Black Lives Matter, and I'm gonna act like I mean it. As over 3.5 years, things that once seemed unconscionable have become normalized. We've got babies in cages, and we've tolerated that. We have a Muslim ban, and we've tolerated that. We've watched as our LGBTQ siblings have had their rights stripped away, and we've tolerated that. We've watched as a white supremacist has not only maintained power, but he's strengthened his grip. And he's unleashed his shock troops. And we say no more. Right here. Fuck your birthday, Donald. Bunker birthday, Donald. Fuck your birthday. We gotta do it ourselves. We need the power of the people in the streets, unrelenting. This is how tyrants around the world have been driven from power.
We fight for the future.
Let's go.
And if we ain't got no future, if we ain't got love. If we ain't got no future, if we ain't got joy.
Trumpets!
Trumpets!
Out now!
Out now!
Right now!
Right now!
Right now!
Right now!
When you see those lunatics all over the streets, it's damn nice to have arms. And when I called them animals, I said they're animals. I said these are animals.
And America's at a crossroads right now. Are people going to sit at home and hope that politics as usual is going to stop this as Trump threatens to bring out the military on peaceful protesters, as he maneuvers elections? And we're calling on people all over this country to do like what they do in every other single country. Be in the streets in nonviolent, sustained protests, not stopping until the regime is gone.
All of us who hunger for justice, we must act now and not wait on elections that Trump doesn't respect and that may not even come. We can't let Trump and company slam ahead and exact revenge.
In the name of humanity! 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 We refuse to accept! We refuse to accept! We refuse to accept! We refuse to accept! A fascist America! A fascist America! A fascist America! A fascist America!
All with a heart for humanity and the planet, now is the time to step up our struggle and drive the Trump-Pence regime from power. Stay in the streets until that demand is won.
Out now! Out now! What's behind you? Out now! Trump Pence! Out now! Trump Pence! Out now! Trump Pence! Out now! Trump Pence!
Out now! Justice!
He said Trump is out now because this fascist has unleashed white supremacists like the ones that killed Ahmaud Arbery and the pigs that killed George Floyd.
Yes!
Let them out loose on this country. And we have to drive this fascist regime out in order to stop this. Trump is out now!
Out now!
Trump is out now!
Out now! Trump is out now!
Trump is out!
Thank you. Thank you. That was great. I apologize for any audio trouble. Part of growing this movement is getting more and more people doing things that they've never done before. So shout out to the fella who's doing our back end for doing something that he's never done before. And we appreciate all the feedback that we got from people, you know, that people that are talking about huge applause, the spreading nationwide of chants, Trump Pence out now. That's the vision that we're going for. And I think that I'm going to be bringing Coco on for a moment, and then I'm going to get into how we're going to get organized. So I'm seeing a note from Coco, so I'm going to bring her in. If our friend can bring Mark, Mark, can you bring Coco in?
Hi, so Sam is going to be, first of all, I hope that people have took inspiration from that video. It shows you a little bit of what the potential is in the streets. If you see that, imagine that magnified by thousands and then millions of people. You get a sense of really how, you know, in a way, this is a very simple formula. There's a lot of complexity to it, but the method is actually quite simple. And Sam is going to be going through a number of organizing tips and tools. And I wanted to, Sam, is this a good time to show that webpage? Or, okay, so Sam's going to put up a web page that I just want to talk you all through, and then you can also, I hope somebody can put the link, or when I'm done here, I'll put the link here in the chats. So refusefascism.org is a website that you should be going to if you have not. You know, go to it to get actually the whole ideological and the knowledge and the backing to be able to make this argument to the hundreds of people that we need to recruit into the leadership of this movement, and to the thousands and then the millions who we need to actually get into the streets to take this up. So refusefascism.org is the website. And should I, let's see. Okay, so actually, Sam, do you want to talk about what's up there now? And then when you're ready for me, I'll talk about that page on the website.
Sure. So for those of you who are looking right now, there's a page that Coco is talking about. The link is right there, right at the top. It's a bit.ly. It's easy for you to jot down and follow. And if we can share the website, then I can bring it up. And if we can't share it now, that's fine. But the main thing that you're going to do to find what Coco is talking about, a page with tons of resources, is you're going to go to refusefascism.org, and you will be able to find the page right there. Yep, it's refusefascism.org/resources, or you can follow the link that was in the slide earlier that we'll put back up.
Okay, so I'll just talk through it a little bit, then I'll pass it back to Sam. So this is a page that's right on the top menu under Act, Organize. And on this page, you can see that there are resources there if you want to become an organizer. There are resources there if you just want to download and use some of the signs and graphics that we've been developing. And then there is a watch and read section for deepening your understanding of why this is fascism, why it is up to us to get into the streets to drive it out through a sustained nonviolent movement. And so I really urge you after this webinar to go and explore that page. And Sam is going to talk a little bit more about it. But some of the things on the read, listen, and watch, these resources, there's a 2020 statement of conscience that is really the main call and gives people the framework and the blueprint for really understanding what is represented by this regime, what is at stake, and what we must do. And one of the first things is to actually call this what it is, which is fascism. There's a page link to the What is Fascism? When people ask you, well, what do you mean by fascism? Is it just a word that is an insult? No, it's actually, it's something that actually has real definition to it. And that definition, when you apply it to what you see this regime doing, it's very relevant and it's very apt, and it is actually the reality of what's going on right now. It is not just an insult. And then we have up here a podcast that's a recent addition from Out Now Lives that we've been doing pretty regularly during this year. And then a very important piece, if you really got a lot out of what Sarah just said, there is a piece to dig into on why we can't wait and hope that the November elections will stop the Trump-Pence regime. There's a statement calling everyone out into the streets on Juneteenth, and this is the most recent statement that actually helps people understand this very moment that we're in with Trump actually ratcheting up his white supremacist attacks. And then finally, there's a really important video by one of our co-initiators, Andy Z, who gave a talk on why we launched the movement Out Now last fall, which was 6 consecutive Saturday protests. And it will give you a grounding and a background and why it was important to have this demand out now become an actual movement that people from many different perspectives could join. And then finally, if you really want to understand why this fascist regime came to power in the United States, what is the character of this particular American fascism? Fascism has a different, slightly different character in every country where it emerges, and it's emerging in a lot of countries right now. But to understand this especially brutal, vicious fascism that has the potential to actually destroy the world because it's in the only superpower in the world right now with the most powerful military, the finger of a lunatic on the nuclear button. You need to watch this video of a talk by Bob Abakian called "The Trump-Pence Regime Must Go. In the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. A better world is possible." This is a talk from 2017, and you will actually learn and understand so much about what is happening now if you watch this talk. So I really urge everyone to go to this page that's linked and to go to these resources. And I'm gonna pass it back to Sam, and I think we're gonna be hearing from Corey soon. So thanks. Thank you for indulging me there.
Sure, those are helpful resources. I hope everybody can check it out. For those who are just joining, welcome. We are having a webinar about getting organized to get Trump-Pence out now, and what we're gonna do together in the streets. So I just wanna underscore a few things and give people a few resources. We welcome everybody on this, from people who have never heard Refuse Fascism before, but want to see Trump-Pence out now through sustained mass resistance, to people who have been in chapters. The whole gamut, we welcome you. So we're setting out to, with you, collectively follow our conscience, sound the alarm, and organize so that it becomes possible for thousands to take the streets across the country in nonviolent, sustained mass protests demanding Trump-Pence out now, growing to the millions and staying in the streets until our demand is met. And in doing so, our actions reflecting our love for humanity, in stark contrast to the hate and bigotry of the Trump-Pence fascist regime. And by doing this, by taking to the streets, asserting this demand, growing in numbers, keeping that momentum not only going, but building it, and raising this demand consistently. This could be what leads to a situation where this illegitimate regime is removed from power. And that's what we're going for. And you play a really important role in getting there. So I want to first put out that for everyone this weekend, whether you're part of an organized chapter or just getting started, we're calling on you to go to where the people are. Maybe it's at a protest, maybe it's something in Brooklyn, in New York. Maybe there's a protest planned in LA that you're going to join. Maybe it's going to the beach or going to a park, wherever people are. You know, we want people to mask up and apply social distancing, but go to where the people are, to take out the need for driving out this fascist regime and spreading the demand Trump Pence out now to the people. And get ready for Saturday, July 4th, nationwide protests called for by Refuse Fascism. We're going to have more details and a call to action for that soon. But in the meantime, send your ideas. If you're part of a chapter, email us. If you're not part of a chapter, DM us on social media. Our handle again is @RefuseFascism, or email us. We want to hear your ideas, your plans, so send them our way. So there is a huge spectrum of involvement, from people who have a few minutes to people who are ready to throw all in, from people who have experience to people who have no experience. Everyone has a role to play. And one thing that I like to keep in mind, and that is sometimes difficult, is to think of radical simplicity. Right? How can we get this demand out in the clearest, simplest way and involve the most people in doing so? And that's what we're going for. And to make every task, every need that we need to fill in this moment, an opportunity to involve more people. And I think that's just a really important thing to keep in mind. So the biggest way that you can make a outsized impact and an easy way to get started is to be part of spreading these key slogans. In the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. And this nightmare must end. Trump Pence must go now. Trump Pence out now. The now is important. And you can do this through stickers and signs and banners. These are all a way to make an outsized impact, where a way that small forces can actually go out there and transform the scene. And you can also do that by spreading this demand in other ways. You're printing out the flyers and posters and spreading up posters in your community. You can do it by yourself. You can do it with friends. You can get a crew together. You can get these shirts which, by the way, the biggest thing is out now, not Trump Pence, because I'm short, you can't see the whole thing, but the out now is important. You can get that on the store. You can wear the shirts, go with your friends, get out posters, flyers, all that project the demand. Wearing it, putting it up in chalk, chalking, Trump Pence must go now, Trump Pence out now. And to take it a step further, for our creative folks, project it on buildings, right? Put it on banners, grab, something you could do with 2 or 3 people, getting a banner and doing a banner hang on an overpass, display it on your window. There's signs that you can get. Again, at refusefascism.org, there's signs you can get, and signs that you can print out from home and put in your window. Bring this demand into your podcast if you have it, into your sermons if you're a person of workshop, put it into your TikToks, put it into your class discussion boards, put it into your Discord servers, put it everywhere. Be part of raising these demands everywhere. That's the biggest thing that you can do, even just as an individual. Take a bullhorn, do a protest, get these demands out there. The video showed Jamel doing a very simple Trump Pence out now chant. This is something that you can do. And you can also put put in Refuse Fascism to YouTube, and you can watch more videos and see more chants. You can follow us on social media, look through on Instagram, and find other ways to involve people. Doing a simple pledge, you know, where people raise their fists and repeat after you, in the name of humanity. In the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America, a fascist America. Trump, Pence, out now. Trump, Pence, out now. It's a simple way to involve people. These are things that you can do. You can do it. And in fact, we need you to do it. So those are all important things and ways to be able to do it. Taking the statement that Coco talked about earlier and reading sections of it, putting it into video form is a great contribution to make. Really talking to all of your networks and sharing with your networks that statement of conscience is a really important thing to do. And I'm sure that you have other great ideas on how to spread these slogans. So put them in the chat or DM us your ideas. We said it earlier, but I'll say it again. It's so important to connect with this movement and to make sure that you are bringing your ideas and you're finding out the latest. So make sure that you're following us at Refuse Fascism on all platforms. Use the hashtag Trump Pence Out Now. We want your graphics, your memes, your videos. You can tag Refuse Fascism, DM us your designs, or email info@refusefascism. And it is so important to, in addition to all the things that we can do on our own to spread this demand, that we connect up and act, cohere in an organized way to project this demand further and to advocate for this mission. And the biggest way that you can do that is to join a chapter or form a chapter if there isn't one in your area. So you can find a chapter near you and be part of a team in the streets, saying Trump Pence out now and bringing more people into this. You can find a chapter near you at refusefascism.org. And if you go there and you don't see a chapter near you because there's not enough chapters yet, you might be the person that forms them. So if you want to get started with a chapter in your community around the demands, in the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. This nightmare must end. Trump Pence out now. We're going to be having a Zoom for you. It's going to be a Zoom interactive meeting Friday, 8 p.m. So if you want to be part of it, there's going to be a link on the website, but you can put a message in the chat that you want to participate if you're on Zoom, or if you are on any other platform, DM us and say, I want to be part of the Zoom. If you want to form a chapter and go out and mobilize to drive this regime out, we want you. You're recruited. Contact us. You can also call our office or text our office. People are going to put the number in the chat on Zoom, and they're also going to put it on other platforms for how people can contact us. If you are someone who's at home and can't be on the streets, there are still ways to volunteer. We need people to be part of national teams. We need graphic designers and people who can do research and people who can translate, people who can transcribe, people who can do press research. You can volunteer, sign up to be a volunteer. Again, that link that you want to know is refusefascism.org/resources. We do not yet have someone on the ground anchoring a Refuse Fascism chapter in Oklahoma. I'm answering a question right now. So I'm not going to name drop you, but you are recruited. I hope you can make our Zoom on Friday. We would love to have a chapter there. So volunteering, and last but definitely not least, I said it before, donating and fundraising. is one of the most important ways to strengthen and spread this movement so that you can so that we together can mobilize the millions needed to drive out this regime. Donate and ask your friends and family to join you. We have a crowdfunding page, donate.refusefascism.org. You can set up your own page and become a fundraiser, and spread it on social media. So these are all ways that you can participate in projecting this movement. And I am so excited to be working with all of you, and let's go, let's make this happen. I want to make sure that we bring in Corey, because it's really important that we all come together in this, and from diverse perspectives. So let's bring Corey Hill on.
Hi, everybody. I've been really inspired by the other speakers tonight, so I can probably be pretty brief. But I wanted to underscore that I was drawn to this particular organization because I think the reference to radical simplicity sort of rang true to me. You can't hope to confront anything unless you accurately describe it. And I think that the strategy of mass mobilization, sustained, coordinated, nonviolent action has been proven to be an effective strategy. And the last 3 weeks kind of provide the template and a source of inspiration, and then further kind of underscore the moment of danger that we're in too, in terms of the fascist threat and this regime and their willingness to use force against peaceful protest. So in terms of the messaging around, hey, we can't wait until November, right on. I'm 100% there. July 4th is right around the corner. I'm glad so many people are on this call, and I hope that as many folks as possible can take action. And then, right around the corner after that is the Republican National Convention in August in Jacksonville, which is right around the corner from me. So I will be there, and I hope that there are a lot of us there to say, not one more day for this Trump-Pence regime.
Thanks for that, Corey. And I want to let people know that Corey is a human rights activist, and he's a signer of the Refuse Fascism statement of conscience and call to act. And you can read some of Corey's latest pieces on refusefascism.org. I hope that you'll check them out, and maybe we can put some in the chat so that people can check them out directly. Really appreciate having you on. I wanted to address a couple questions that came up, and see if, Carl, will you join me? Mark, can you have Carl join?
I just unmuted.
Oh, great. Thanks, Carl. One question that I thought you might have some good ideas for is, do you have strategies to get prominent voices, especially those who might already agree, to center our message? And they gave some examples, but I don't think that's the main point. The point is, how do you go about getting, people who could amplify this message?
Well, look, what you have to do is you have to reach out to them. One, look at what's happening, who's saying what, who's doing what, and then reach out to them with the message. And some of the people that were in the thing that I saw the thing in the chat are people that we've reached out to. I mean, one in particular actually helped the launch of the Out Now campaign by coming and speaking at its opening rally in New York City last fall. I mean, that was Cornel West. But what you have to do is you have to take to them the reality of what's happening, and especially this gauntlet that Trump has thrown down, that he is going to call out the military to crush this upsurge of protest, that this is not going to be allowed to go down. He's connecting it to his love of these Confederate monuments to the Confederacy. He is calling on his people, the rough and tough bikers and the rest of them, to come out and help suppress this. This is what is being put forward in opposition to the huge numbers of people who've been in the streets the past couple weeks, who want to see an end to police murder of Black people and white supremacy. But look, I've been in the streets with them from Minneapolis to DC to New York. They also want to see other horrors that this system brings down on people, from the attacks on immigrants, attacks on women, destruction of the environment. They want to see that stopped. The Trump-Pence regime is intensifying all of those. So we have to go to people with, we must stand up against these horrors, and we have to stand up in particular around this white supremacy. But you're not going to advance the struggle for to end white supremacy if you ignore the open and naked white supremacist in the White House, who's putting the call out to all the good old boys and girls to get out there and fan the flames for this. We have to take this on. I noted that there was a question of what's our strategy beyond protest. Look, it has made a huge difference that people have been in the streets all across the country. The great diversity of people who have been in the streets, calling for an end to police murder, an end to white supremacy, and expressing a determination to actually fight to end this. We need to connect that to the fact that there is a white supremacist in the White House who's opposing everything these people stand up for, and call for that to continue. And just imagine it continuing. Imagine a crescendo of voices impacting in other arenas. Like I just rewatched a new video from Public Enemy called State of the Union, Shut the Fuck Up. And I mean, it's about as anti-Trump as you can get. And in talking about it, I saw a tweet from Public Enemy that said, we got to Nixonize 45 by July, and calling for 1,000 songs. He says, this ain't just about Public Enemy putting out a song. This is about 1,000 songs coming out. Well, imagine that kind of crescendo. And we have to work to do that. And different people have the capability to reach different people. There's some people with prominence that I might be able to get a hearing from, but then there's some other people of prominence that somebody else might be. Let's make all of that happen so that we can bring as much to bear as possible. And look, the hour is late, but it's not too late. And we really cannot fall into a we're waiting for November, you know, because November might not come in terms of the election might not happen. They're working to rig it and sabotage it right now as we speak. And it would really be a wrong move to wait on that. But we also don't have to wait. We have seen this happen in countries around the world. This country won't be the easiest one to do it in, but it is also the one in which it would have the most impact globally if it happens. And then let's go to work on that. You know, don't give up if the people around you, I saw one person was saying, does it frustrate you that everybody she talks to, you know, around her doesn't want to hear it? Well, don't give up on that, because it is really necessary for this message to hit home. Look outside the window and you can see, and in some cities, people were telling me, well, in Minneapolis, it was like this. You'd go out on a protest and you'd be marching this way with several thousand people, and you'd come across several thousand people crossing your path. and you'd swing with them, and then you'd find others. There are people out there who do want to see something happen. We have to work on reaching to them. If you're in a city where there's a Refuse Fascism chapter, get connected with it. You can get connected by connecting up the way that Sam and Coco have been talking about. If you're somewhere where there's not one yet, let us know that you want to be a part of this. Come on Friday on the call that Sam was talking about, and let's get to work on it, and let's work at how we can build something up where you are, what role you can play in it. And look, everybody's always got to start somewhere, and it will always feel like you can't do it. I remember when I got my orders to go to Vietnam, and I reported to the overseas replacement station. I'm supposed to get on a plane to Vietnam in 3 days. I'm by myself. What can I do? I can't get on that plane, can I? Because I don't want to go kill people who are trying to get their country free for this system. And just to make a long story short, I bumped into 2 other GIs who had the same problem. And then we decided, well, let's work on it together. And soon we had collected a couple of dozen GIs who didn't want to go, and we worked on strategies to work on that. Now, mine ended up with me in Leavenworth Military Penitentiary because I happened to have a lot of time left in my hitch in the Army, so I had to refuse orders. But from the point where I show up at the overseas replacement station to the point where I'm part of the largest mass refusal of GIs to go to Vietnam, it just required stepping up and doing things I hadn't done before and finding other people to do it with me. So that's what we have to do. And in the name of humanity thing that we did, you know, you saw videos of people doing, that's really who we're doing this for. We're doing this for humanity because humanity needs this. You know, the kids in concentration camps on the border need it. The people who are dying needlessly and getting sick needlessly from the coronavirus pandemic, they need it. People who are being brutalized and murdered by police need it, and I could go on and on. So that's basically what I wanted to say. So that's me.
Thanks, Carl. Yeah. Mark, if you can spotlight me. Thanks. Welcome to our next section where we're pulling some of these things together. It was really helpful to hear from you, Carl. Thanks for sharing that. For people who are on Twitter, you really should follow Carl if you don't already. I'm gonna right now put his handle in. Oops, I shared it just with Carl. If somebody can put in Carl's handle, that would be awesome. He's really worth following. You'll learn a lot and get connected more with this movement. So I want to pull together some strands that have come forward and underscore some things. I want to let people know this was a concrete question that I can answer. There is a question about masks. We do have masks available on the Out Now shop. You can go to refusefascism.org and go to the Out Now shop and get your mask. You can order a bunch for people and send them out. That's a really great way to organize. I want to highlight again refusefascism.org/resources. It's where you can go to get organized into this movement. I want to say again that there are some next steps we're going to take together. This weekend, whether you are part of an organized chapter or just getting started, we're going out, we're going to where the people are and gathered, whether it's a protest or not at a protest, and taking out the need for driving out the Trump-Pence regime. and demanding Trump Pence out now to the people. Again, if you are wanting to connect with a chapter, you can find chapters near you again at refusefascism.org/resources. It's where you go to get organized. And if there isn't a chapter near you and you want to form one, I want you to email info@refusefascism.org or DM us tonight, and we're going to invite you to a Zoom organizing meeting where we can get you started. Saturday, July 4th, that's not this Saturday, but next Saturday, we're calling for nationwide protests. There's more details that are going to come, but send us your ideas, your plans. Again, info@refusefascism.org or DM us at refusefascism. We want to hear your ideas, your plans, your thoughts, and how we can project these key demands at a moment where it is both most needed and most possible to see this through. I want to let people know again that no matter where you are, no matter who you are, you have a role to play. Whether you've been with us or just found out about us, there's a tremendous role for you to play. You know, there's one graphic that we did a while back that I found very, very relevant and put back up. What do you need to start your own out now protest? The understanding that no one is going to stop fascism for us, a little bit of courage, a sign, homemade or printed from Refuse Fascism. And then there's optional upgrades. Other people, a megaphone, social media, chants, drums, horns, stage, religious leaders, all that can be added on, but those are the key things that you need. The key thing is this demand, Trump Pence out now, a little bit of courage and a lot of determination. And this is what we're going out in the world and doing. Again, you can find more about volunteering. You can find signs and graphics that you can print along with resources to read, listen, and watch at refusefascism.org/resources. And this is a moment where the whole world is watching us right now. And what are we going to show them? And to someone who is wondering about voices of prominence, how do we get them? One of the ways is the way that we get everybody else, by going out there and bringing this demand and calling people to choose a side, because that's objectively what people are being called on. There is no neutral when you face a fascist regime. And going out and raising this demand, chanting it, and bringing more and more people in and recording it and projecting it further on social media, that's how we're going to bring more people into this. So I want to remind everybody, if you aren't signed up, make sure that you sign up at Refuse Fascism. We call on you again to donate to grow this movement. Donate.refusefascism.org. You can also Venmo or Cash App or go on PayPal. I think people are putting up those links. Let's make sure that they get up on Zoom too. And get connected with us on social media. Make sure that you follow us at Refuse Fascism. And I just want to put Coco on one last time to see if she has any closing words.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I forgot to put my video on. So my only closing words are that I think that you've gotten a lot to dig into. And what Carl says is really true. Everybody's got to start somewhere. And for the people who have been part of this movement, let's level up. For people who are just starting, find a place to step in. And you'll learn as we do this. We're going to learn a lot as we do this, but we have to go all the way to actually to winning this demand and not backing down until our demand is met. So, and you know, I just want to also say that the world is watching us, and what are we going to show them in this moment? So let's seize this moment. This is a moment to seize, not to squander. And I really am looking forward to seeing what we accomplish together in the next few weeks and beyond that. So thank you, Sam, and I'll say goodbye from here. And Trump Pence out now, I'll say that.
Thanks, Coco. I just want to close out again. I just got a question about how to organize on social media, and I forgot that we want to know who wants to join our Twitter and IG army. So DM us if you want to be part of pushing out this message consistently. So including reaching out to all sorts of people that you know and those you don't know. So if you want to be added to a list and be part of it and work with other people projecting this on social media, be sure to DM us at Refuse Fascism and we will get connected. Edward's asking about next protests. We're going out this weekend, so make sure you connect with a chapter near you. Make sure, I think in this case, you connect with New York. And then July 4th, nationwide protests, stay tuned. So again, be sure to follow at Refuse Fascism. And there's connecting with the people that were mentioned on Twitter. I'm trying to think of if there was anything else that I forgot. There probably was. But I think that everyone who is commenting mentioned really good ideas, and spreading the hashtag Trump Pence out now is another way to organize on social media. So thank you everyone for tuning in and participating in this. We are glad to have you in the movement to drive the Trump Pence regime out now. Be sure to share this. It's going to be up on social media. So keep promoting it. Get it to your friends, your family, and everyone who wants to see this nightmare ended now. And one last time, if you wanted to start a chapter near you, be sure to email info@refusefascism.org or DM us. Imagine Trump Pence out now. Let's not just imagine, let's together make it real.